In the morning at around 8 a.m., we got news from our reporter that 13 students in Iranamatukanish Vidyalaya suddenly collapsed and were admitted in Kailanachi District General Hospital. The police immediately launched an investigation into the matter. As the information from the police, the reason for this event is consumption of water from the school tap. Later, when the water sample from the school well was sent to the laboratory in the hospital, it was found that some chemicals were mixed in the groundwater. Subsequently, every water sample from nearby water bodies was tested, and lakes and wells near the schools were found to contain such chemicals. Iranamatu Lake was used as a water reservoir there. The water coming out from the downstream side of the dam is supplied to some parts of Kailanachi town. In the first phase, primary school and Iranamatu village have been advised not to drink water from well or lake.
Today, the engineers of CEA gathered here to hold a press conference. They are prepared to discuss the issue further after the investigation. Here we go.
The purpose of this press conference is to present the result of our panel's analysis of groundwater contamination in and around the Kilinochi area, where 13 children of Iranamadu Kanishta Vidyalaya were collapsed and admitted recently. As soon as we came to know about this groundwater contamination problem, our panel immediately conducted the site visit to the places associated with the contamination and analyzed the collected sample to determine the severity of the contamination. If you look at the introduction section, the image depicts a side view of the contaminated site. A, B, and C are the boreholes which are located at the distance of 19 meter, 22 meter, and 41 meter from the storage tank respectively. The JK industrial site has been losing chemicals from two storage tanks for 17 years with the amount of 232 kg per year. The investigations of the sludge at the bottom of the storage tanks revealed that dinosaur and duron are major contaminants for groundwater pollution. According to the Kilinochi water table observations, the groundwater slopes towards a lake 54 meters away from the site and passes beneath of Iranamadu Kanishta Vidyalaya. Let's discuss about the source path and target. The storage tank which are leaking over 17 years has been identified as the source of this contaminant. After releasing from the storage tank, the chemicals were released to the soil and seeped to the groundwater and to the nearby lake. This traveling way is now identified as the path of these contaminants. Water consumers include 25,000 people from Iranamadu town, 150,000 people from the Kilinochi town, and 500 children and 25 staff from the primary school are considered as the ultimate target of this contaminant. Primary school uses this water for essential needs like washing, cooking, and toilet facilities. At the same time, if we consider both towns, they consume water at the rate of 200 litre per day per person, and they use it for their domestic usages.
The harmful chemicals we found during our initial investigation were dinosaur and duron. Both are herbicides used to kill weeds and some unwanted vegetation. Both chemicals are potentially dangerous when they mix with water. From medical research, we came to know that they affect the lungs, liver and eyes of the human body and are highly toxic. If we consider children under the age of 10, as they got less immunity, the effect on the lungs is very large. That was the first case we found in the primary school. In addition, there are effects on the reproductive organs and also reduction in sperm count. We recommend that villagers who often feel difficulty in breathing and feel exhausted to go to the district general hospital for health checkups. We advise the villagers to stop fishing from the lake, as these chemicals are toxic to the fishes. Eating those have a higher probability of causing health problems. We had planned some basic remedies for this. We have advised villagers not to drink water from nearby lakes or wells. Beyond that, risk management strategies also used here. Initially, we need to isolate the contaminant plume. To this end, the method of pumping groundwater is used to divert the groundwater flow. With these pumping methods, we are able to bring the plume to the surface and prevent further spread of contaminant. We analyze the characteristics of the pump and obtain a flow rate of 0.01 cubic meter per second to remove the contaminants. With this, we plan to monitor it also. Contamination sources are monitored twice a month and the pumping system is properly maintained. These remedial actions are scheduled to be evaluated at specific time intervals.
According to the lake and groundwater analysis, the graphs predict the contamination of Dinosaur and Durum. When we look the graphs, the concentration of two chemicals are higher than the before spill model. For that means after chemical spilling, the amount of chemicals concentration is increased and get maximum point and reach at 40 to 52 days period in the every strike. But in groundwater analysis, we got the both chemicals concentration is maximum point on 13th day analysis we started, which means the contamination gets higher value within a month. The groundwater source is started to do contamination to take with lesser than 1 month. But after the spill, the Duron and Dinoceps concentration is suddenly reduced and approached to the zero level concentration. When we analyze the complete risk level, the borehole B, which means it is near to the primary school area, is affected quickly than other boreholes area. But lesser than a week, other borehole area also get to affected by the dinosaur, which is happened before spill time period. But after spill time period, the Duron affected faster than the dinosaur.
As we have already discussed, the remediation methods are well evaluated. To reduce the risk of contaminations further, JK Industries engineering consultant has been recommended to locate new storage facility away from the current facility. According to his analysis, the suggested tank diameter is 25 meters and the height is about 5.6 meters. The distance between the two tanks is taken as 18 meters. He also suggested preparing materials for tanks. After the risk analysis of all three modes of contamination, he could conclude that their designed new storage tank is used for the reduction in risk and maintaining the low risks for any type of future spill. It may also apply to any mode of contamination that may occur in the future if continuous, instantaneous or periodic. As the work of CEA, we analyzed the credibility and design parameters of the proposal and approved it. All dimensions were within the specifications and we are 100% confident that the new storage facility will stop the leak to the groundwater. This is our huge goal. If you need any further clarifications, you can ask questions. We are always ready to answer your questions.
You have performed a risk analysis using a software. How likely is this compared with actual situation?
Yes, of course. An analysis done using computer software always shows deviation with real scenario. While we are doing the analysis, we got negative values for the concentration. But obtaining negative values for concentration are not possible for the real cases. We consider those as zero values. At the same, we have done the risk analysis for the some particular design parameters and got the final output. But other than that, there are some parameters we couldn't consider in our analysis. Those may affect in this. However, we considered a 95% confident interval in our analysis. It will give acceptable values.
You mentioned that the contamination has been happening for 17 years. Why didn't the relevant authorities conduct inspections within 17 years?
Yes, the contamination is there for several years. But as to our knowledge, There was no any immediate scenario for this investigation. After the founding of mixing of chemicals, our team investigated for the cause and found the problem was there from the JK Industries, as they are the one produces the agrochemicals. Leakage may there since the installation of the storage tank. That is why we mention it as 17 years. We took legal action against them. They got the approval for the storage tank and there were reports. According to these reports, their maintenance was good enough. Our team has been gone for routine inspection every year, but they couldn't reach the case. Engineering consultant of the industries there couldn't find any leakage within those 17 years. Some unavoidable leakage was happening from the beginning of the installation. That is why we had no reason for look into it. It was the reason for this much of late.
Sir, excuse me, what actions have you taken so far in relation to remediation?
Yes. To control the chemical contamination, there are some ways available. For an example, apply the oxidation process to the contamination water, or another way is pumping the contaminated groundwater and treat as well and distribute the water for public for their users. But for the efficiency process and short-term solutions, we prefer the pump and treat method. The pump system is containing the contaminant plume. The pumping method is keeps to prevent the contaminants are mixed with the downstream lakes and wells. Even though the pump method not effective for the subsurface contaminant, there are some factors are limiting the effectiveness. In low permeability zone, the groundwater flow is reduced and the water contaminants are controlled by these impermeable layers. And next one is dissolvation rate. If it is low, the concentration of the contaminants in the water is low, and also the presence of the immiscible liquids in the groundwater is hard to remove, so it takes much time to take removal. To prevent the contamination, the JK Industries was instructed to build a new chemical storage tank to reduce the contamination. There are some restrictions for the tank installation, such as the tank should install minimum 80 meter far from the initial storage tank. Tank diameters and height are not lesser than 25 meter and 5.61 meter respectively. And the material of the tank should contain carbon fiber and high amount of carbon contained steel to prevent from the corrosion.
What are the design considerations related to your remediation actions?
As she explained the remediation, our main focus was installing new chemical storage tank. We informed the engineer consultant to design in the required dimensions and we got the proposal from him. After through analysis of tank dimensions and the design considerations, we made the approval. Our proposed location for the construction of water storage facility contains hard, deep, confined aquifers. Engineer has paid special attention to foundation and the soil type. For secondary protection of tanks, we recommend warping steel tanks with FRP composites to prevent corrosion. These are the main design considerations in our section.
Mr. John, during the remediation period, what plans are there to provide drinking water to the villages?
We have planned to provide the drinking water from the water bowsers in a daily routine. The location is already a place rich in army quarters, so we can get their support. We have scheduled to supply the water for one part of the village in the morning and other part in the evening. By this way, we will manage to supply water for their required places.
How is the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources involved in the CBA project?
Yes, the support from the ministry is very well, and the sum of the fund received from the High Commission of India were also allocated for our project. It is under the projects of water supply. Those were mainly allocated for the water supply to the villages during the remediation period.
Sri Lankan Army also encouraged with us in this work of water supply. And also ministry is in cooperate with us for the awareness programs related to the health issues of the contamination of these chemicals. they allocate some fund for these programs also.
Thank you. That's it on the press conference about it. With that, we end our Fox News Live today.